Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel and my half-scale Terminator T-800 build from Agora Models. Okay, if you want to get one of these for yourself, there is a QR code on the screen. There are also links down in the description, so you can go to the Agora site and order one of these for yourself. Today, we're going to get right into building the other arm and the other hand. So I'm going to get some tools and we're going to get to the build. Okay, friends, first we're going to start off with what would be stage 73 in the actual instructions. Like I said, we're bouncing around a lot here. So I am just going to assemble these parts really quick. I've already done it before, so I've shown you how to do it previously. And like I said, there are tons of videos out there online of really good builders building this. So I'm just going to get these parts together and we'll be right back. Okay, and that is these parts assembled. Remember, on these here, you don't want to over tighten them, otherwise it'll spread that rubber out a little too far, and I'll have a tendency to slip out of that. This one's done. All right, these parts are assembled, so let's move on to the next stage. Okay, for what is step 75 or stage 75, we're just going to take this piece here, and there is a cutout there. You want it to match that. We're just going to put that in back like that, and that's actually all there is to this one. So now we're going to move on to 76, which is this one, and we're going to take this piece and same way, make sure it gets in there like that. All right, so now we're going to take this piece here, and we're going to take this piece here that we made earlier. And this is just going to go on right in there, just like that. Okay, so now that we've got that in there, we're going to take this one here, and this one's going to go right there. And then we're going to take this part, which is actually from previous stage 72, and we're going to take this one, slip that in there, and that is going to go right here. All right, so next we're going to take our long screw, put it through here, and our short one is going to go through here, and we're going to line these up. I'm just going to put this in here like so, and this one, and this is going to go in here like this, and then we will tighten these screws down. Just get it started. All right, now that we got them started, we want to make sure that we push these together so there's no gap there. And then we're just going to tighten these two screws down. I like to alternate a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side, just to kind of keep the pressure even. And you want to make sure those are nice and tight and no gap there. And this should move, but it should be very hard to move. You want that nice and tight. All right, moving on. Okay, next we're going to take these parts from stage 78, and we're going to glue this in here and attach this. And on this piece here, we're going to just use a little super glue around there, and we'll get that on there. Okay, just like that. All right, so they want us to remove this piston from the cylinder, which is fine. It'll be easier that way. And then we're going to take one of these washers on this side, and that's going to go in here on the short stem like that. And then, this will be fun, we'll put this other washer on top. Okay. And then this piece is just going to go on like this and hold all of that together. And then we'll put a couple of PB 2x6 screws in here to hold that together. Okay, just like that. Now, I will say, if you decide to go out of the ordinary flow of the instructions, you got to be pretty organized because you're going to have to bounce around a little bit. So that part's been real fun. But that part's done, so let's move on. Okay, next we're going to take this little bushing, and this is going to go in here like so, just like that. It's not going to stay in on its own though. We're going to take this part here, and you've got a larger hole on this side and a smaller hole on that side. I don't think it matters which way it goes, but you'll want to put your screw, which is a PM 2x10, through the larger hole here. So let's get that in there. Get that screw started. All right, we'll tighten that up. All right, and that part just goes just like that. Now we can take this piece over here again. So we need to take a couple of these, and these are going to go in here just like the other ones always have. They fit in those little holes there. Like that. We'll put this one in from this side. All right, just like that. And then we're going to orientate this so the long part is on this side and the short part's on this side. We're basically just going to fit these in here like so. And then we're going to fit this right between here. Line up our holes. Then we're going to take this piece here, and this is, again, this is keyed, and so is this hole. So we'll just stick this in here. That should go in there and center everything up. Just like that. Make sure that's centered on this side. And we're going to take one of these little washers. That's going to go in there like that. Then we're going to grab one of our PM 3x10 hex head screws and our Allen wrench that was provided earlier on in the build. And this is going to go right in through here. Give that a few turns there to get it going. Then we're going to take this piece here, and this is going to go just right over that screw. Now there's a hole in this, so you can adjust the tension on this later. So we're going to get some super glue and glue that in. All right, just like that. All right, so at this point with this assembly done, I'm going to pause assembly here. I'm going to do my weathering like I did on the other parts because it's easier to get to it all while it's out like this before I get too much assembled. So I'm going to start doing that next. All right, that looks pretty weathered and grunged up a little bit there, so I'm going to let that dry, and while that's drying, I'm going to move on to something else. So let's get back to the build. Okay, next we're going to attach these little springy ligaments into this part here. So let's get some super glue going here. Get that in there like that. We'll just do these one at a time. And the last one. All right, just like that. Okay, next we're going to take this piece here, and that's just going to go on over this to kind of hold those in place, and then we'll tighten it up with one of the KB 2x4 screws. So let's get that in here like this. Okay, and just like that, our ligaments are in. Moving on. Okay, next we're going to take this part and this end, and this has got a notch here, and that's got a notch there. So that's going to go in just like that. And then we're going to hold that in with one of these PM 3x12 screws. All right. Just like that. That part's done. Moving on. Okay, folks. So I have been working on the other hand, this is the left hand, for probably way too long now, a couple hours. So here's my dilemma. And I really wanted to like the finger mod kit. And I see the limitations of the originals, but here's my kind of take on it. I really like the look of the finger mod kit screws on the fingers. I think these other ones are too big. That said, the finger mod joints do not work well on this one. They're not long enough. I think if they were longer, it might work better. Also, anytime you move one of these, unless they're really tight, it just comes loose right away. And then if you start tightening it up, it gets worse. So, granted, I'm not going to be adjusting these hands all that often, but occasionally I will. And I want to be able to kind of make it hold the rifle and everything. So I think what I might end up doing is I may use the original parts for these joints right here where they attach the finger onto the hand, and then do the finger mod kits just for the fingers. Because even though, like, see, that's just come loose again, and now it's just super loose. But all I got to do to fix it is just grab the little Allen wrench, give it a little turn, and now it's nice and tight again. So that way I can adjust it to hold whatever it's going to hold, and then tighten it to make sure it doesn't lose its grip. And I'll hold on to the Allen wrench, obviously. I have an idea on how to store that on the base, actually. But yeah, these parts right here, I think I'm going to go with the original parts. Only, if you notice, the larger part with the stem on it, I put underneath, because I still think that looks a little too big, but you can't see it. This is the smaller end, and I like that a little better. It's closer to these. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and save myself a big headache later on, I think. So I don't know. A lot of you have built this kit before. Let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments. Just, let me know how you solved it, or if you did, or if you just live with it. I know I've heard of people who, as soon as they start messing with the hand, everything just starts falling apart. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that isn't going to happen. But so yeah, that's where I am with the hand. So I am going to finish redoing these joints right here on this one. And then I'm probably going to get the hand that's already on the Terminator and redo the finger joints. All right. So that's where we're at on this. So let's get back to the build. All right, friends, so just a quick update. I went ahead and I finished off my left hand that I was working on. So this one is all done and ready to go with the finger mod in the fingers, and then the normal connectors to these joints here. So this one is done. Now, I am currently working on the very tedious project of pulling these apart and fixing these with the new finger mod kit and leaving these ones. I'm going to leave these ones in place here that are holding these on because they're in very well and they're very snug fit. So what I've done is I've labeled each finger to make sure I'm getting the finger in the right place. Again, I don't get them mixed up, and I've numbered them 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I went forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I'm going in reverse. So I've already done this one here, and I'm just doing one at a time. The hardest part about this is getting these old ones apart without messing things up. So I've got a couple of big heavy-duty pliers here that I'm using to pull these out, and then I just put them in with the new ones and the washers and get them back on the finger one at a time. One thing I forgot to mention about the mod kit that I do really like is with the addition of the washers in there, it makes the finger straight. I don't know if you can tell, but on one of these, the original ones, there's no washers, so the fingers actually go off in one direction. So the washers in the mod kit do take up that slack and make the fingers actually straight again, which is really nice. All right, so I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll be back. And for you, will seem like a few seconds, but for me, it's going to probably be another hour or two. We'll see. All right, back to the build. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how I prep my finger mod joints. So I take the this part here, that's going to go in between, and what I'm going to do is put a tiny drip of super glue in there, and then I'll put one of the screws in, but you don't want to screw it down all the way, otherwise it's going to end up being too short. So let's get a little super glue in here. And it really doesn't take a whole lot of super glue. All right, and then we set our screw in there. And then we're just going to give it a couple of turns, maybe 2 or 3, and then see how it's still sticking out. That's what you want. But you want to do these first and let these dry so that when you put in the other one, this one doesn't turn. So I'm going to get the rest ready, and then we'll do the next finger. All right, now I've got the joint apart, and what I have to do now is I've got a little file here. I'm just filing off any of the super glue that's still on there so everything will fit, and then also taking this round file and just cleaning up the super glue that's in the hole there. All right, now that one is ready to go back on, so we'll take our pre-done up insert, 2 washers, and our finger. Hold it in there like that. Grab our screw. Get our screw set in there. And then tighten it up. All right, and that's the new joint. So now we'll take apart this one and do the same thing over and over and over again. All right, we'll be back. Okay, so basically the same process as this one. Clean this up. Let's get our pre-done up joint in there, and 2 washers. All right, and then this part can be fun. Not a lot of room to work in here, so sorry if my hands get in the way here. Let's get our screw on there. All right, and then once it bites a couple threads, then you can move around here. We'll get that one tightened up. Okay. And there we have 4 out of 5 fingers. All right, let's get this last one done. Okay, the right hand is done. Came out pretty good. Again, I do like these joints here being the original ones, and these, I just like the way the little screws look in the fingers here. I just think it looks so much more realistic. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and reattach this arm back onto the Terminator, what I've got built so far. And then I'm going to take this one and probably weather it up like I did this other one. Can't really tell on camera, really, but this one's a lot dirtier and grungier than this one. So, all right, back to the build. Okay, friends, well, I've got the hand all grimed up and weathered looking. We got his forearm with the spring ligaments in there. And we got the upper arm built and completed and weathered. All right, so I know it doesn't look like we got a lot done, but we did do the finger mods, which took a lot longer than I anticipated, and some troubleshooting and some figuring out on those, but I'm really happy with what we've got now here. So I'm happy with it, and as long as I'm happy with it, that's really all that matters, because it's my model, my build. All right, friends, once again, if you want to get one of these for yourself, please head on over to Agora Models. There is a QR code on the screen you can scan and a link down in the description. I hope you're enjoying this video series. I know I am. It's been a lot of fun. Really wanted to do this build for a long time. If you like it, please remember to give the video a thumbs up. And for those of you who haven't already, please click that subscribe button down below. It helps out the channel and I would really appreciate it. And for all of my friends out there who have clicked the subscribe button, thank you so much for your support for the channel. I really appreciate it. Okay, so until next time, friends, everyone be safe out there and go build something.